Welcome back to the mess. Today we'll continue on our relationship series. And who better to have on a relationship series than the mother of relationships herself, Dr. Britt. Welcome to the mess, Dr. Britt. Would you like to say hello to the audience?
So good to be here. I am so proud of this guy. I can't believe
On the
this.
mess. Welcome to the mess. So a little story time of me and Dr. Britt's relationship. Dr. Britt is the director of the Office of Student Diversity? Okay, because I remember when I first started, it was
Yeah.
So I was actually the inaugural first ever student worker for the organization. It was the second year of you guys.
Well, actually, it was our
First year? It was our first.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was first year.
Yeah.
Let's say it was a learning curve for me. I started freshman year. I was honestly, it took me a minute to figure out what my role was. And as time done by, I started learning more about what the office is about and what my role is. And it's just to bring people together and educate them on diversity and make everybody feel welcome. That was our goal and mission. And my goal and my job at the time was to manage and inform, or we had it's a group called the Alliance. It's called the Alliance now.
Yeah.
And it's a group, a body of students were involved to helping us, with our mission and the mission of diversity. And this is actually the exact reason why I have her in the podcast for this series, because the whole thing about diversity and learning and culture and all of that, it's all about relationships. It's all about inclusion. It's all about understanding people that you don't even speak the same language with, or you don't even have the same background. And she has a whole PhD in it. So I'm gonna let her tell you a little bit more about the kid and diversity and her mission, what she does, and a little bit more about your past. Would you like to share?
Absolutely. So Wilson just gave you a great summary of what we're doing. The Alliance was formed with 12 students to help them become leaders of leaders. So each of these students, as they came in, they could not already have a leadership role at UMHB, but they had to have the potential and they had to be recommended from a staff member, a res director, somebody who had a relationship with them already and could vouch for their potential to become a leader. What Wilson did in his position was he coordinated this. He coordinated each of these leaders into one community. So he was charged with making sure that they were aware of everything that involved our events, our cultural awareness events, as well as things that we're doing across campus. He also made sure that they were kept in the communication stream. So everything that we needed posted on social media, things that we needed created for different departments to know who we are and what we were doing, that was Wilson. So it's no wonder Wilson is now spreading his wings across the globe to continue in communications and understanding what it takes to build meaningful relationships.
Thank you. You see, this is why we got her here. She speaks better than me, okay? But thank you so much for sharing that and saying that. That's awesome. Thank you guys so much for the opportunity of working here. I've learned a lot in communicating to people, because that's one of my biggest things. It's like communication with people. And it's just, I learned a lot because I was put in a place where I had to talk to a lot of people and give them instructions. And I really didn't, not like do that at first, but I grew into it. I'm like, you know what? I need this support in my life because I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be a boss. I want to lead people, and it was good to immerse myself in that. So I do want to say thank you for the opportunity. I learned a lot from you and Miss Reda, so thank you. Half of my week. Let's see, how's this week, man? This week, school's been going by too fast. It's already the third week. It's about to be the fourth. And it's been, I don't even know how to describe it. I was not expecting, I feel like every year school goes by faster and faster and faster. But this year I'm actually ready for it because I'm waking up early. I'm doing everything. Like this summer, I realized it's a lot of time in a day when you wake up early.
Absolutely.
Because I get a lot of things done by like 8. I wake up at like 7 or 6, and I get a lot of things done. Like, what do I do next? And how do I do next? And they gave me a lot of time to do all this podcast stuff. But this week I've been taking time off running because my ankle has been messing up. And it's been because I've never thought I'd be in a position where I did not like running in my life. Always hated running. To be in a position where I can't run feels so weird to me. Like I want to run, but I can't run because of my ankle. Never thought I would be in a predicament like that. But anyways, how was your week? A little recap of your week so far. What do you got going on today?
So this whole week has been student focused. Everything that I've done has been centered around students and new students, as a matter of fact. So our freshmen who are just getting here are coming in, which is great because we get to, from the very beginning, establish a relationship, right? So now they know who we are, what we're doing, how we can support them. So my week has been filled with that, those kinds of meetings with students. With, as a matter of fact, when you walked in, I was speaking with a professor at that moment about a couple of students who I had the privilege of working with this week and pulled him on board to help support them. So it's been kind of that way the whole week.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so right here in your bio, you have. I feel like you told me this in the past, but it's now like coming back to me. You have a grandma that's you from the 19th century who helped raise you and taught you a lot of value that you still hold today. Like, would you like diving more in that? Having a person from the 19th century. What was the year when you put in the
98.
898? That's insane. Like, can you dive a little bit more in that before we start asking questions about that?
Absolutely. So for many of you, I know that you know how amazing it is to meet someone who has lived through so many of the current events that we have faced as a country. And my great grandmother was that way. She was my father's grandmother. My father was blind, and so was my mother. And I lost my father to a drunk driver when I was 12. So I went to live with his grandmother, who was 70 years my senior. You can imagine what that was like. She was older. One of her children, as a matter of fact, her youngest daughter was my father's mother. Yeah. So this woman, all 4'8" of her, was just amazing. The one thing that I can say out of everything that she did for me, the one thing that's still with me now is that she taught me love, the true meaning from the most simplistic thought of what love is. I think we complicate it and we make it something that's elusive or hard to find, but it's always present. All you have to do is say yes to it. Sometimes, even in my own life, people are waiting to see if you're going to love me back. And then that becomes the premise for I love you because you'll love me back. But what happens if they don't love you back? Will you hold back love in those instances? And her answer was always no. She was always the person, no matter how many times you came to her, she would always show you love and give her last to show you that, yes, not only do I love you, but I'm here to make sure that anything in my life that can make your life better, I will do. So those are the kinds of lessons that I learned from her. But think about it. She went through the Great Depression. She went through Jim Crow. She went through the Civil Rights Movement. She went through the 70s, when we're trying to recover from so much violence and find a new normal in the country, and everybody is using protests as the way to get us through something. And on this other side, this little bitty woman is talking about love and kindness and gentleness and meekness. So, I'm thinking she is the epitome of what, when you think of a grandma, that's exactly who you think of.
Wow, that is wow. That's insane. Thank you for that, because That's a lot of history right there. She's been through a lot, seeing all those significant moments of time, experiencing it, and still being the woman she is, and it's reflecting in you. That's insane. That's insane. So I guess like you were like predestined to follow this path you are on right now.
Absolutely. When we think of ancestors, we think of people who are long gone, right? When you say ancestor, you're thinking about generations beyond, people that you haven't met, right? But with her, it was like living right with your ancestor, having a living fleshly body who can respond to you as you are growing and guide you through things that she has seen and things that she knows will cause you discomfort and unease. And she gently guides you to say, you may not want to go that way because on the end of that road is destruction. But if you take this road instead, and she would give gentle little nudges that way, but always allow me to make my own decisions, to come out on whichever side I decide for myself with a lesson that coaxes a kind of experience that words can't, right? So she was really, really big on making sure that I own every decision that I made, but she guided me along the way. And I think sometimes that's what we're missing. We're missing good guides. We look for leaders. We look for people that we can say they will lead us through whatever we're going through as a group, as a team, as a society, as a country. We're looking to specific leaders to do that for us. But we actually need guides, somebody who can provoke a thought, who can teach a lesson through a story, and then allow you to make your own decision, your own choice.
Wow, that's insane. That's insane to think about because, like, to have like a person like that, and especially in that time period, who has like that open mind to let you grow on your own. Because I hear a lot of stories from like elders in the past where, due to the history, all the stuff they lived through, like your grandmother, it's just they have like this one train of thought, and they just you gotta follow this, you gotta do this, you gotta do this, say this, don't think like this, don't do this, don't make your own decision because of my past and history. And to have a grandmother who's been through all of that and still letting you do that, that's just really impressive to me and really awesome. Thank you for sharing that. All right, Dr. Britt, we're gonna enter to our first segment, the hot seat Q&A. There's gonna be some unhinged but curious questions in this one. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
First one, what's something you learned from your great grandmother that a textbook could never teach you?
How to look into people, how to not just be surface. So our books talk to us about creating community, about how to form lasting relationships, right? But these are from individual perspectives. But what my grandmother taught was when you see someone, don't just look at that first glance of what you see in their face. Look deeper. Their eyes usually tell you a story that may be different from their body language. So catch eye contact and allow that to be a window for you so that if they may be a little bit timid about being vulnerable, it's okay. You still have the opportunity to connect. And sometimes trust is built just with that little connection that allows you to look into who they are rather than taking their word for it. You know how we say, how are you? And we don't always wait to hear the response. We expect the response to be, oh, I'm fine. But sometimes the words will say, oh, I'm fine, but their eyes will say, I'm hurt, right? So taking a moment to pause and be okay with being slow. You know, everybody wants you to rush. Everybody wants you to hurry up, say what you got to say, and get out of the way. Driving, whatever the interaction is, they want you to hurry. But what she was teaching me was time is your friend. You don't have to hurry through interactions with other people. Take your time and find out how you can affect their lives, make their lives better.
Well, like Whether you said it's like that, because like I remember a week ago, I don't know why something came to my head. I think it was God. But I took my morning walk because my ankle was starting hurting last week, and I was like, I gotta stop running and walk. And I was walking, and I noticed this man just sitting on a rock. And I was like, maybe I should stop and say hi because because my whole vibe right now and for the podcast is like to be able to talk to people and get the story immediately. And I was just walking, and then I see this man sitting on a rock. His face all look like shiny, well maintained, hair look well maintained. There's like, he looks like he used products. So he wasn't homeless, but the way the clothes he was wearing was homeless. So I'm like, there's something going on over there. And he was looking towards the police department. And he was just sitting there just thinking. And I'm like, there's something there. So I stopped by and talked to him. I'm like, what's going on? What's your story? He's like, I don't know. I'm very like out there. So I just like, you don't look homeless because you look well maintained. So I'm like, what's your story? He's like, well, actually, I just got out of that jail right there due to some like violence that I got the charge just missed because it was just a scratch. I'm like, wow. So I'm like, where are you from? He said, I'm from Lubbock. I'm waiting for this thing to clear out before I head back up there. All my money and stuff, it's tied up there. And I'm like, how you doing? Like, I'm fine. Just thinking right now, just seeing what my next move is. And I'm like, wow. That's insane. That was like a whole story right there. Because he was just facing and staring at where he just came out of. Yeah. And he's just sitting right in front of it. Yeah. I'm like, that's like a big, it's just for me, that was just like really, really just like a big thing to me. I'm like, because just looking at the past. Yeah. And then I'm like, wow, that's insane. So I'm glad I just stopped because I'm doing that more and more and just talking to strangers. I've always talked to strangers, but I've never, like you said, I just walk past them and be like, hey, how you doing? But like I stop and just like really had a little conversation with him. I learned a lot. He's a good dude.
Yeah. And see, that's the
Yeah.
lesson. That's what she was telling me
Yeah.
all those years ago. Just take a moment. Don't be in such a rush until you can't stop for the human condition to find out what that human's experience is at that particular moment, because you may never cross paths with that person ever again, but you could learn something from you. They can learn something from you, I'm sorry, and you can learn something from them. And then they take you with them on their next journey because they'll remember, like he'll always remember that you stopped to just ask him, what's going on with you? What's your story? How many people passed by him, saw him, but didn't stop, right? So, yeah, that's a
Wow.
memorable moment.
Okay. This next question is, you've studied the human experience a lot. What's the most fundamentally broken thing you see about how we're trying to connect today in the society?
Assumptions. So many times we will look at a person and assume we know their story already. We may have had an encounter with someone who reminds us of that individual, and we'll project all of the things from our past experience with somebody else onto that individual without experiencing them and who they are genuinely without the baggage of somebody else. I think assuming we know any individual is the infraction against them. Because at that moment when you are dismissing the uniqueness of who they are, you're not allowing them the opportunity to give you a real glimpse into their lives. So I think in any experience, we should allow ourselves to experience it, allow ourselves to be a part of it, not feeling as if I need to just get through this experience. I hear people say that all the time. I just need to get through this. I'm going through. You'll hear that a lot too. I'm going through. And they're focused on through rather than the experience itself. And I think there are lessons in the experience that we need to gather rather than rushing to get past it.
Okay. That's real. That's because like one of the topics in my relationship a lot is like, because I had a relationship last year and I took a year off to just be myself, find myself. But I learned a lot from it. And I'm with a new person. I'm not putting him in the, I'm not putting like judging him based on my last relationship, but I have learned lessons to look out for things.
Yeah.
Like I'm leaving plenty of room for them to let them be them, but at the same time, I gotta protect myself. It's still the beginning. I gotta like look for similarities and like I'm not gonna say this reminds me too much about, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes I have to be better at that because sometimes words it comes out like that because words mean a lot if you don't say it the right way. But it's like I'm like, I'm just trying to tell you because due to my past experiences, this has not always worked out well. And, you know, when it comes to, you know, girls and whoever you're dating, you gotta like say it the right way because like just talking about your ex to bring your ex out of the way is just it's too much. So you gotta like you're not the same, but like this was happened when this happened, and this is how it made me feel. But like it's a whole new person, a whole new thing, and there's a lot of chances that I need to be given in the beginning. But at the same time, I've learned to also because I've always been a very forgiving and chance person. I always give a lot of chance, but at the same time, I can't do that because I can't do that because like I'm at a point in my life is where I need somebody to add on. I'm here to learn from you and grow. Absolutely. You know, I don't want to repeat petty mistakes, stuff like that. I want to grow, learn, make some mistakes now and never do them again, kind of thing. Well, you're teaching everybody how to engage with you by what you allow and what you don't. So the things that you allow that you really don't like, you're teaching that person that it's okay for them to do the things that are hurting you or causing you to feel angst because you haven't corrected it. Yeah. And the way you correct it is to just have that conversation, have a meaningful conversation. One thing is, no one can make you feel anyway. You decide how you feel. So if in a moment someone is doing something and you decide, this feels frustrating for me, I'm frustrated, I'm irritated by it, I'm hurt by it, you have allowed yourself to feel those things because of something that they've done. Not that they made you feel that way, but something that they did caused you to decide that's the appropriate emotion that goes with whatever they're doing. So now you've got to correct that. You have to, at that moment when it occurs, rather than waiting until another moment when that person doesn't even remember what happened. Yeah. But at that moment when it occurs, you then have that conversation. I'm irritated right now, and I'm irritated because this just happened. Let me help you understand why this is irritating for me. You're teaching them then that that particular behavior then causes this kind of response from you, right? But at the same time, now they have a decision to make. Do I continue this same behavior? Now that I know for Wilson, he assigns irritation to this particular behavior, or do I stop it and do something different? What we don't want our relationships to do is lead us into being someone we're not. So if I'm not willing to change the behavior and I know you're irritated by that behavior, that's something you have to work through. You have to figure out where the compromise comes. I like that. I like the way you've said that way better. I like that because like, I want to start adapting to that because, yeah, because sometimes like it's because that's one thing I did learn because I'm like this year my past relation is like I let myself feel those things. And like I've been practicing that for the last year. I'll take it off relationship. It's like I will allow myself to feel this type of way. I will allow myself to build this type of resentment. And I'm like, and I always tell myself, I'm way too petty to let somebody make me feel like that. So I really, so I took this year to really try to grasp myself and how I let myself because like it also ties in with discipline. That's one thing I have to learn with the consistency and all of that is I'm allowing myself to be inconsistent. I'm allowing myself to that it's okay to take a day off. And I have this big goal that I know that I won't reach unless I lock in every day. So I'm like, it's just me making excuses to feel some type of way or to be inconsistent. So I'm glad you said that because it does reflect on a lot of points in my life leading up to now. Okay, so this last one in the hot seat is you say you're a therapist who doesn't believe in a systematic diagnosis. Is the only map for successful what's that word? Assimilation? What does that mean? Like what does that mean? So there is this big red book called the DSM, and we're on the 5th revision of that book now. But that book is a guide for therapists who are
helping individuals find success at their own terms. But the diagnoses or assessments allow the therapist to be guided in how they guide their therapy, right? But those assessments are not enough to guide a person into appropriate behavior. So many of our societies have similar things that are appropriate in society. Like, you can't strip off all your clothes and just walk down Main Street. That's not appropriate. It's against the law. You know, there are things put in place that says when we are in shared spaces, we have to behave appropriately. And if we don't, there are consequences. So we know that piece. But assessing someone and saying, okay, you have a dysfunction in your emotional capacity, or you have a dysfunction in the way that you process, the way you engage with other people. Say, for instance, people who have had traumatic experiences in their lives, they may be dealing with reliving those experiences every day of their lives, right? But just saying that the person has PTSD is not enough to help guide them through to appropriate responses, helping them work through what it means for them. They've had this traumatic experience. Because it's an experience, it's a part of who they are now, right? That memory is there. We don't want the memory completely erased. But what we do want is for them to be able to function through it. So helping them to assimilate to appropriate behavior takes more guidance than just looking up in the DSM or any type of assessment to find out, okay, this person has these symptoms, so they're probably dealing with this particular dysfunction. That's not enough. We actually need to look deeper and be able to guide them well according to their individuality, rather than just lumping them all into one box, hanging a label on the box with all of these symptoms checked to say, okay, yeah, you have all of these things going on, therefore you're dealing with this. That's not enough.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Because like that's a good way to I gotta ask this question because that just gets me thinking. Because like because I've seen this a lot in the past. Is like when a therapist or system diagnose somebody, they use that for everything that happens in their life. Like they forget that they have multiple different diagnoses, and it's just they use I have PTSD, so I act the reaction, this is why I drink, this is why I do all of this stuff. I'm like. I feel like there's a little bit more there than what I'm saying. So I do like that finding, like, helping them figure out what's going on and helping them work through it and like not putting a label on it, saying until they figure it out. Cause like as an example actually of this, cause like in my classes, one of the professors was actually talking about COVID and how I don't know what it was, the CDC or something, whoever keeps track of deaths, like the government. It was like they have to redo everything because during the COVID, they had this number saying hundreds and hundreds of people died from it, but they were classifying it as a death even if the person had a tumor, a very malignant, a very terrible tumor, or they had like, or they were about to die from old age, but they had COVID when they were about to die. They died of COVID. That woman was 200 years old. That man was 200 years old. Or it's like somebody who has a history of having really bad lungs, and they just shut down, but they had COVID when they got to the hospital, or they contracted it from somebody, right. And then they just put diagnosis of everything, the rise. Everybody just ran with COVID being so bad, but it's just like the cold and all of that. I'm like, so that just like what you said, like I've been thinking about the teachers. I'm like, there's a lot of things like that where people have a certain diagnosis and they just run with it without understanding what it means, without understanding the other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. So like, I do get that. Okay, we about to enter into our light game. This one's called Therapists or TikTok. So what I'm gonna do is bring up a lot of scenarios where you're gonna decide would this come from a TikTok therapist or an actual therapist. Okay.
All right.
Are you ready? The first one. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
The first one, the living The family is a living organism. It adapts, it shifts, and it must be understood in its totality.
So I would say TikTok because you'll never ever understand a family in totality. That's always an ongoing experience because every member of the family is evolving, becoming. Yeah, I would say
That's TikTok. Okay, next one. If they wanted to, they would. Period.
that's a philosophy I ascribe to, so I would say that would be a therapist. Yeah, because whatever you desire, you're going to push yourself towards that. So if you want to do it, you'll find a way. If you don't want to do something, you'll find any excuse not
Not
to
to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, so
It is more. I like that. Because, like, well, most people, when they read that sentence, and they hit a period, they would automatically say that's TikTok. But there's so much to it. Because I've always been told my whole life, if you wanted to, you would.
yes.
I'm like, there is a lot of truth to that. Because everything is like, the word need is something I've always pushed away from. I don't need to do anything ever,
Mhm.
but I want to do things.
Mm.
And that's stronger. That's a way stronger feeling for me. The only thing I'll ever need to do in my life is drink water and eat. The want is what push people further, than the need to do it.
Absolutely.
Then because the need starts sounding like a job, but the want is what gets me up every day. Because I want to be at this in 5 years. I want to do this. I want a great relationship with my girlfriend.
Exactly.
I want this. So waking up every day. But yeah, I do like. I always think about that. I'm like, is that toxic or is that real? But it is very real.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm gonna go agree with you on that one. That is therapist right there. Okay, next one. Your trauma response is your superpower.
No, I think that's flawed.
Yeah.
So I would say that's TikTok.
That's TikTok. Yeah, that's definitely TikTok. We tend to forget, this is the last one. We tend to forget that emotional intelligence is at the core of social interactions and that it requires a constant awareness of our own emotion and those of others.
I would say that is a Daniel Goleman quote, pretty much, and I would say it would be a therapist.
Yeah. Cause like that's real. I wish I had more time to dive into that, but I'm gonna try a little bit. Cause like one of the things that recurs a lot to me and with in conversations with my relationship, personal one, or my friends, is that cause like I'm always like harping on something, right? Cause I'm like, if we don't do it now, we're not gonna do it later. Is that me? I constantly worry about what's going on in the world, whether it's my personal life, family, or just the world. Cause like I always tell people, like, you don't have to conform to society at all, but you got to be aware of society.
Absolutely.
Like you got to be aware of it. It's like, yes, I don't agree with every single thing that the government or everything social media does, but at the same time, I'm living in their country, state, and I'm using their platform. So I have to be aware of the laws, policies, guidelines, and everything. I'm like another thing is like, sure, the person across from me is a big fighter. Like they like to resort to violence and everything. I don't like to resort to violence at all. But at the same time, if that person comes to approach me and starts trying to fight, I have to, it's either me or them.
Yeah.
It's either me or them. I have to stand up out of myself, protect my family or whoever's around me. Because just because I feel some type of way does not mean that person is gonna feel the type of way. Nobody has zero obligation. One thing I learned at a very young age because of my orphanage. I was given up and everything. Nobody has an obligation to you. The way you think, the way you live, the way you think. But at the same time, you gotta be aware of that. You gotta be aware of that. And that's where the want thing come in. People want to feel this way. People want to do this thing. People want to treat you nice. And you got to be aware of that fact. That's always in the back of my head. Like when I'm inviting somebody to a podcast or like or even a stranger is like, do they want to do this? But I'm gonna ask either way because like they talk about they want to be on social media, they want to learn this stuff, but if they want to be in this particular position, so it's just like I might have to like maybe see a whole other podcast to talk about that. 'Cause that's one of the biggest things I talk about constantly. All of these things happening in this world, there's people like liberal and rights at the same time. They're all living in the same world. You know what I'm saying? They're all living in the same world. And they have to be aware of each other, be aware of this environment. That's one of the big things. I had a big personal space problem when I got to America and I had to be aware. Not everybody wants me touching and being all over in the personal space. And so we're going to wrap up here with a few questions. We don't have much time.
When was the last time you felt passionate about something and you spoke on it? If you've never experienced that, then you're not trying to find your voice. You're actually trying to find yourself. Those things that are passionate for you. because the things that you find that hit you deeply, if there is an opposition to those things that are at your core,
Yeah.
you will speak up. But if you haven't found those things that are a core part of who you are yet, then yeah, many times you'll sit and you'll just observe and be an observer in your own life where you haven't taken control yet. I believe that we all have a personal world. We construct that world and we make ourselves the victor in that world, not the victim. We're always the hero of the story. But then we have this shared space over here. In this world, this is where society lives. This is where our engagement with other people is, right? But if I'm always silent here, it may be that I haven't found myself here. And if I find myself here, then I will find my voice there because I won't stop being who I am just because I'm in a different world, because I'm in the world that we share. I'll still be the victor. I'll still be myself. I'll still be as vocal as I am when I'm in private and I have thoughts and ideas about particular things. I'll still carry those things with me into the shared space. But it takes us remembering, when was the last time I used my voice? That's where you'll find it.
I like that. I like that because sometimes you got to go back to when you were the most confident, the most outspoken,
Yeah.
and then start from there, then build back up.
And you don't have to be a master of everything.
Yeah.
You don't have to know everything about everything and be the vocal one who speaks up on every occasion. It should be something that really resonates with you, that's a part of who you are and the way you see yourself in the world. And when there are times for you to speak up, but speak when it improves the silence.
Where can people find you and your work that you're doing?
So UMHB, go crew.
Go crew.
But out in the community, I'm everywhere in Central Texas and globally as well, just trying to make connections and build lasting relationships.
Yeah. Actually, that gives the perfect segue into the one word that describes you is I'm gonna say relationships. So I'm gonna go with that. Because I was thinking about wisdom. I'm like, so I didn't really get everything, but it's the relationships. Because everything you've learned, a lot of the stuff you learn is from relationships from your past. So I'm gonna say relationship is the perfect word that describes you.
Absolutely.
But anyways, would you like to say goodbye to the mess? I gotta get to class.
Good boy. I'm glad of that. Thank you all for listening. I hope something that we said resonated with you in a positive way and that you'll take it with you on your journey. Always keep becoming, keep evolving, reach for the things that you really want in life and find them.
Thank you. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time.
Thank you, Wilson.
Thank you.